The crisp November evening air carried an electric anticipation through London's West End as hundreds of elegantly dressed guests made their way toward the iconic London Palladium. The Royal Variety performance, a tradition spanning over a century, was about to unfold once again, bringing together the finest entertainment talent from across Britain and beyond. Tonight, however, would be remembered not for its spectacular performances alone, but for a moment of genuine human connection that would touch millions of hearts worldwide. Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stepped gracefully from her official car, her midnight blue Jenny Packham gown catching the camera flashes that illuminated the theater's entrance. The familiar weight of royal duty settled around her shoulders as she smiled and waved to the gathered crowds. Behind those warm brown eyes lay the practiced composure of someone who had learned to navigate the intricate dance of public life with both grace and authenticity. Tonight marked another evening in her role as patron of numerous charities, where her presence would help raise vital funds and awareness for causes close to her heart. Inside the historic venue, backstage preparations buzzed with nervous energy. Performers adjusted costumes, ran through last-minute rehearsals, and whispered words of encouragement to one another. Among them stood Jessie J, the powerhouse vocalist whose distinctive voice had captivated audiences worldwide. Her journey to this moment had been anything but conventional, marked by both triumphant highs and deeply personal struggles that had shaped her into the artist she was today. Jessie's preparation routine that evening carried extra significance. Recent months had brought unexpected challenges into her life, testing her resilience in ways she had never anticipated. The weight of personal struggles sat heavily on her heart, even as she prepared to deliver the performance that audiences expected from someone of her caliber. Her signature confidence remained intact, but those who knew her well could detect the subtle vulnerability that colored her usual pre-show demeanor. The Royal Variety performance had always held special meaning for British entertainers. To perform before members of the royal family represented a pinnacle of achievement, a recognition of artistic excellence that transcended commercial success. For Jessie, this invitation carried particular weight, coming at a time when she needed reminding of her artistic worth and the positive impact her music brought to people's lives. As the evening's program commenced, Princess Catherine took her seat in the royal box, her presence lending an air of gravitas to the proceedings. The Palladium's ornate interior, with its red velvet seats and gilded decorations, provided the perfect backdrop for an evening celebrating British talent. From her vantage point, she could observe not only the performances but also the genuine joy and appreciation of the audience members, many of whom had contributed generously to the charitable causes being supported. The opening act set a vibrant tone for the evening, with comedians, musicians, and variety performers each bringing their unique talents to the historic stage. Laughter rippled through the audience as established stars and emerging artists alike delivered performances that showcased the depth and diversity of British entertainment. Princess Catherine found herself genuinely engaged, her appreciation for the arts evident in her animated responses to particularly impressive moments. Behind the scenes, Jessie J moved through her pre-performance preparations with the methodical precision of a seasoned professional. Her styling team made final adjustments to her outfit, while her vocal coach offered last-minute tips for protecting her voice in the theater's acoustics. Yet beneath the surface of professional preparation lay currents of emotion that ran deeper than typical pre-show nerves. The months leading up to this performance had tested Jessie in ways that success in the music industry had never prepared her for. Personal relationships had faced strain, health concerns had emerged, and the constant pressure of maintaining a public persona while dealing with private struggles had taken its toll. Tonight's performance represented more than just another show. It symbolized her determination to continue creating music that connected with people despite the challenges she faced. As her call time approached, Jessie found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From her early days performing in small venues to achieving international recognition, each step had taught her something about resilience, authenticity, and the power of music to heal both performer and audience. Tonight, she needed that healing power more than ever. The backstage area buzzed with the controlled chaos typical of major live events. Stage managers coordinated timing with military precision, ensuring smooth transitions between acts. Sound technicians made final adjustments to equipment, while lighting designers prepared to transform the stage for each performer's unique requirements. In this environment of professional excellence, emotions often took a back seat to technical perfection. Princess Catherine's own journey to this evening reflected a different kind of preparation. Her role as a member of the royal family required careful balance between personal interest and public duty. The causes supported by tonight's event aligned closely with her own charitable commitments, particularly those focused on mental health awareness and supporting young people facing challenges. Her presence here represented more than ceremonial obligation. It reflected genuine commitment to using her platform for positive impact. The princess's preparation for public engagements always included thorough briefings about the performers and causes involved. She made it a priority to understand the background and significance of each act, allowing her to engage more meaningfully with artists when opportunities arose. This attention to detail reflected her genuine interest in the arts and her respect for the dedication required to excel in creative fields. As the evening progressed through its first half, both Princess Catherine and Jessie J remained focused on their respective roles in the evening's success. The princess engaged warmly with fellow audience members, her presence contributing to the positive atmosphere that made the royal variety performance such a cherished tradition. Meanwhile, Jessie continued her backstage preparations, drawing on years of experience to channel her nervous energy in a focused readiness. The Palladium's acoustic properties have been legendary since its opening in 1910, and tonight those acoustics would carry voices, music, and emotions to every corner of the packed theater. The building itself seemed to anticipate the magic that was about to unfold, its walls having witnessed countless memorable moments throughout its storied history. Tonight would add another chapter to that legacy, one that none of those present could have predicted. The interval provided a natural pause in the evening's momentum, allowing performers to reset and audiences to process the entertainment they had already experienced. For Jessie J, this break represented the final countdown to her performance, the moment when months of preparation would culminate in a few precious minutes on one of Britain's most prestigious stages. In the royal box, Princess Catherine used the interval to engage with other attendees, her warmth and genuine interest evident in every interaction. The charitable purpose of the evening remained at the forefront of her mind, knowing that the funds raised would make a real difference to the organizations being supported. Her role that evening extended beyond mere attendance. She served as an ambassador for the values of service and compassion that the event represented. As the second half of the program approached, anticipation throughout the theater reached new heights. The evening's lineup promised increasingly spectacular performances, building toward a crescendo that would leave audiences with lasting memories. Neither Princess Catherine nor Jessie J could have imagined that their paths were about to cross in a way that would create one of those unforgettable moments. The backstage energy shifted as performers prepared for the evening's final acts. Jessie J's team conducted their last-minute checks, ensuring every detail was perfect for her upcoming performance. The weight of expectation sat alongside her personal emotional load, creating a complex mixture of anticipation and vulnerability that would soon play out in the most unexpected way. As the house lights dimmed and the second half began, both women prepared themselves for what they believed would be their separate roles in the evening's success. Princess Catherine settled back in her seat, ready to appreciate the artistry about to unfold. Jessie J took her position in the wings, drawing on every ounce of her professional experience to prepare for a performance that would prove far more significant than anyone could have anticipated. The stage was set, the audience was ready, and the evening was about to take a turn that would create headlines around the world. What neither woman realized was that they were about to participate in a moment of genuine human connection that would remind everyone present of the power of compassion, understanding, and authentic emotion to transcend all boundaries. The spotlight blazed down onto the Palladium stage as Jessie J made her entrance, her powerful presence immediately commanding the attention of every person in the packed theater. Her sequined outfit caught the stage lights, creating sparkles that danced across the ornate ceiling of the historic venue. The opening notes of her performance filled the space with a richness that demonstrated why she had earned her place among Britain's most celebrated vocalists. From the royal box, Princess Catherine watched with genuine admiration as Jessie began her set. The princess had always appreciated music's ability to connect people across different backgrounds and experiences, and tonight she witnessed that power in its purest form. Jessie's voice soared through the theater with technical precision, but it was the emotion behind each note that truly captivated the audience. As the performance unfolded, something remarkable began to happen. Jessie's carefully maintained professional facade started to crack, revealing glimpses of the vulnerability she had been carrying for months. The lyrics she sang seemed to take on deeper meaning, resonating with her own recent experiences in ways that surprised even her. The audience sensed this shift, leaning forward in their seats as they witnessed not just a performance, but a moment of raw artistic honesty. Princess Catherine found herself particularly moved by what she was witnessing. Years of public appearances had taught her to recognize authenticity when she saw it, and there was something unmistakably genuine about Jessie's performance tonight. The princess understood, perhaps better than most, the challenge of maintaining composure while dealing with personal struggles in the public eye. She saw in Jessie's performance a courage that went beyond musical talent. The emotional intensity of the performance began to build as Jessie moved through her set list. Each song seemed to unlock another layer of feeling, and the theater's atmosphere grew increasingly charged with emotion. The audience members found themselves not just listening to music, but participating in something that felt deeply personal and universal at the same time. This was no longer just entertainment. It had become a shared emotional experience. Backstage crew members, who had witnessed countless performances over the years, found themselves pausing in their duties to watch the monitors displaying Jessie's performance. There was something happening on that stage that transcended the usual boundaries of live entertainment. The technical perfection remained intact, but it had been infused with a level of emotional honesty that transformed the entire experience. As Jessie moved into her final song, the weight of recent months seemed to concentrate into each note she sang. The lyrics spoke of resilience, of finding strength in vulnerability, and of the healing power of human connection. Her voice carried not just the melody, but months of accumulated emotion that had been carefully contained beneath her professional exterior. The audience felt every nuance, every subtle crack in her voice that revealed the real person behind the polished performer. Princess Catherine watched with growing concern and admiration as she recognized the courage it took to be so emotionally exposed on such a public stage. The princess's own experiences with public scrutiny had taught her how difficult it could be to maintain authenticity while fulfilling public expectations. She saw in Jessie's performance a kind of bravery that deserved recognition and support. The final notes of Jessie's performance rang out through the Palladium, followed by a moment of profound silence that seemed to stretch across the entire theater. Then, as if released from a spell, the audience erupted in applause that went far beyond polite appreciation. This was recognition of something extraordinary they had just witnessed, an acknowledgement that they had been privileged to experience genuine artistic vulnerability. Jessie stood on the stage, breathing heavily from both the physical demands of her performance and the emotional energy she had poured into it. The applause washed over her like a wave, but she seemed almost surprised by the intensity of the audience's response. Tears glistened in her eyes as she took her bow, the professional mask she usually wore having been replaced by raw, honest emotion. From the royal box, Princess Catherine rose to her feet, joining in the standing ovation that swept through the theater. The princess's response was immediate and heartfelt, recognizing not just artistic excellence, but human courage. Her own eyes reflected the emotional impact of what she had just witnessed, and she felt a strong impulse to offer personal support to an artist who had shown such vulnerability on stage. As Jessie made her way off the stage, the emotional intensity of what had just happened began to settle in. The performance had taken something out of her that she hadn't expected to give, leaving her feeling both depleted and strangely liberated. The backstage area, which had seemed so familiar and controlled just minutes earlier, now felt surreal as crew members and other performers offered congratulations with unusually warm sincerity. The traditional meet and greet portion of the evening was about to begin, where Princess Catherine would have the opportunity to meet with the performers. This customary part of royal variety performance evenings usually followed a predictable pattern of brief, polite exchanges. Tonight, however, the emotional charge from Jessie's performance had created an atmosphere where conventional protocols seemed somehow inadequate. Princess Catherine made her way backstage with her usual grace, but there was an urgency to her movements that those familiar with royal protocols might have noticed. The princess had been genuinely affected by what she had witnessed, and her natural instinct to offer comfort to someone in emotional distress overrode her usual careful adherence to formal procedures. Tonight, human compassion would take precedence over royal protocol. The backstage area had been arranged to facilitate the traditional post-performance meetings, with performers lined up to greet the royal visitor. Usually, these encounters followed a pleasant but brief format, allowing the princess to acknowledge each performer's contribution while maintaining the evening's schedule. However, as Princess Catherine approached the area where Jessie was waiting, both women seemed to sense that this would be different. Jessie had managed to compose herself somewhat since leaving the stage, but the emotional residue from her performance remained clearly visible. She stood with the other performers, grateful for their support, but still processing what had just happened on stage. The vulnerability she had shown during her performance had not entirely retreated behind her usual professional demeanor, leaving her in a state of openness that was both uncomfortable and authentic. When Princess Catherine appeared in the backstage area, a subtle shift occurred in the atmosphere. The other performers, recognizing the significance of the moment, seemed to step back slightly, creating space for what was about to unfold. The princess's usual warm smile was present, but there was something deeper in her expression, a recognition of what she had witnessed, and an understanding of its emotional cost. As the formal introductions began, Princess Catherine moved through the line of performers with her characteristic warmth and genuine interest in their work. Each exchange was meaningful, but there was an undeniable sense of building toward the moment when she would reach Jessie. The emotional current from the performance seemed to flow through the entire backstage area, creating an atmosphere of heightened sensitivity. The stage manager, experienced in coordinating these post-performance meetings, sensed that something unusual was happening. The typical rhythm of brief, pleasant exchanges was being influenced by the emotional energy that still lingered from Jessie's performance. Protocol suggested maintaining the usual format, but the human drama unfolding seemed to call for flexibility in approach. Other performers in the lineup watched with growing awareness that they were about to witness something significant. The usual backstage chatter had quieted, replaced by an expectant atmosphere that suggested everyone present recognized the importance of what was happening. The evening's entertainment had been exceptional, but now they were about to see something that transcended performance altogether. Princess Catherine's approach to each performer reflected her genuine appreciation for their artistry, but those observing could see that her attention was increasingly focused on the upcoming encounter with Jessie. The princess's natural empathy had been activated by what she had witnessed on stage, and her desire to offer comfort and support was becoming increasingly evident in her demeanor. As the distance between them decreased, both women seemed to be preparing for an interaction that would go beyond the usual pleasantries. Jessie's emotional openness from her performance remained visible, while Princess Catherine's compassionate nature was clearly engaged. The stage was set for a moment that would capture not just their hearts, but the hearts of everyone who would later witness or hear about what was about to unfold. The traditional format of these meetings was about to be transformed by genuine human emotion, creating a memory that would resonate far beyond the walls of the London Palladium. Two women from very different worlds were about to connect in a way that would remind everyone present of the universal power of compassion and understanding to bridge any gap. The moment arrived with an almost electric tension that seemed to charge the air around them. Princess Catherine stepped forward to meet Jessie J, and immediately both women recognized something profound in each other's eyes. The formal protocol that typically governs such meetings seemed to evaporate as genuine human connection took precedence over royal procedure. The princess's trained diplomatic smile was replaced by an expression of sincere concern and admiration. Jessie attempted to summon her usual professional demeanor, straightening her posture and preparing for the standard exchange of pleasantries that such occasions demanded. However, the emotional rawness from her performance lingered just beneath the surface, making it difficult to retreat behind the polished facade she typically maintained during public encounters. Her vulnerability remained visible, creating an honesty that was both beautiful and heartbreaking. "Your performance was absolutely incredible," Princess Catherine said, her voice carrying a warmth that went far beyond polite acknowledgement. The princess's words carried genuine weight, spoken with the conviction of someone who had been truly moved by what she had witnessed. "I could feel every emotion you shared with us tonight. That took tremendous courage." The unexpected depth of the princess's response caught Jessie off guard. She had prepared herself for the usual brief exchange of courtesies, but the sincere recognition in Princess Catherine's voice triggered an emotional response she hadn't anticipated. Tears began to well up in Jessie's eyes as she struggled to maintain her composure while feeling deeply seen and understood by someone she had only just met. "Thank you so much," Jessie managed to reply, her voice slightly trembling with emotion. "It means everything to hear that from you. Tonight was more than just a performance for me. I've been going through some challenging times lately, and being here, sharing that music with everyone, it felt like exactly where I needed to be." Princess Catherine's expression softened even further as she recognized the pain behind Jessie's words. The princess's own experiences with public scrutiny and personal challenges had taught her to recognize when someone was struggling beneath their public persona. Her natural instinct to offer comfort and support kicked in, overriding any concern about maintaining formal distance. "I can see that it came from a very real place," the princess responded, stepping slightly closer. "Sometimes the most powerful art comes from our most difficult moments. You've turned your pain into something beautiful that touched everyone in that theater tonight. I hope you know how remarkable that is." The genuine validation in Princess Catherine's words hit Jessie with unexpected force. The months of struggling with personal challenges while maintaining her career had left her feeling isolated and uncertain about her artistic worth. To receive such heartfelt recognition from someone of the princess's stature felt like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning in self-doubt. "I've been questioning everything lately," Jessie admitted, her professional guard continuing to lower in the face of such sincere compassion. "Whether my music still matters, whether I still have something meaningful to offer. Tonight helped me remember why I started doing this in the first place, to connect with people, to share something real." Princess Catherine's heart went out to the talented performer standing before her. The princess understood intimately the pressure of living life in the public eye while dealing with private struggles. She recognized in Jessie's words the same doubts and fears that could plague anyone facing difficult times, regardless of their public success or recognition. The other performers and backstage staff who were witnessing this exchange found themselves deeply moved by what they were seeing. This was no longer a formal royal meet and greet. It had become a genuine moment of human connection between two women who had found common ground in their shared understanding of vulnerability and strength. "Your music absolutely matters," Princess Catherine said with conviction. "What you shared tonight proves that beyond any doubt, you have a gift for expressing what many people feel but struggle to put into words. That's incredibly valuable, especially when you do it with such honesty and courage." Jessie felt a wave of emotion overwhelm her as the princess's words sank in. The validation she had been desperately seeking, not from critics or industry professionals, but from someone who genuinely understood the human cost of public life, was being offered freely and sincerely. The tears she had been struggling to contain began to flow despite her efforts to maintain control. "I'm sorry," Jessie whispered, reaching up to wipe away the tears that were now flowing freely down her cheeks. I didn't expect to get so emotional. It's just been such a difficult time, and hearing that, it means more than I can express. Princess Catherine's own eyes began to glisten with tears as she witnessed Jessie's vulnerability. The princess's compassionate nature was fully engaged, and every instinct told her to offer the comfort that any friend would provide in such a moment. The formal constraints of royal protocol seemed increasingly irrelevant in the face of genuine human need. "You don't need to apologize for feeling deeply," the princess said gently. "That's what made your performance so special. That's what makes you so special. We need artists who are willing to be vulnerable, who are brave enough to share their truth even when it's difficult." The emotional intensity of the moment continued to build as both women found themselves in territory that neither royal training nor performance experience had prepared them for. This was uncharted ground where genuine human emotion took precedence over all other considerations. The watching staff and performers held their breath, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. "Sometimes I feel so alone in this," Jessie continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Everyone sees the success, the glamorous life, but they don't see the struggles, the doubts, the times when it feels like too much to handle. Tonight, sharing that music, it felt like I wasn't alone anymore." Princess Catherine felt her heart breaking for the young woman in front of her. The princess's own journey had taught her that success and privilege couldn't shield anyone from emotional pain, and she recognized in Jessie's words the universal human need for connection and understanding. The desire to offer comfort became overwhelming. "You're not alone," Princess Catherine said firmly, her voice carrying the weight of personal conviction. "What you're feeling, what you're going through, so many of us understand that struggle. It takes incredible strength to keep going when things get difficult, and even more strength to share that struggle with others through your art." The space between them seemed to shrink as the emotional connection deepened. Both women found themselves caught in a moment that transcended their different backgrounds, their different roles, their different worlds. They were simply two human beings recognizing each other's pain and offering mutual support. Jessie looked into Princess Catherine's eyes and saw not the polished royal figure she had expected to meet, but a genuine, caring person who truly understood what she was going through. The princess's warmth and compassion created a safe space where Jessie felt permission to be completely authentic, even in such a public setting. "Thank you for seeing me," Jessie said softly, her words carrying layers of meaning. "Really seeing me, not just the performer or the public persona, but the person underneath who's been struggling. That means everything to me right now." Princess Catherine felt deeply moved by Jessie's gratitude, recognizing how rare and precious it was to connect so genuinely with someone. The princess's own experiences had taught her the value of authentic human connection, and she felt honored to be trusted with Jessie's vulnerability. The moment had reached a crescendo of emotional intensity where words seemed insufficient to express what both women were feeling. The barriers that typically separated a member of the royal family from a performer had dissolved completely, leaving only two people who had found unexpected understanding and support in each other. It was then that Princess Catherine made a decision that would surprise everyone present, including herself. Setting aside every protocol she had ever learned about appropriate royal behavior, the princess opened her arms in an invitation that came purely from her heart. What happened next would create a moment that would be remembered far longer than any of the evening's performances. Without hesitation, Jessie J. stepped forward into Princess Catherine's open arms, and, in that instant, something magical happened that no amount of royal training or performance experience could have prepared either woman for. The embrace that followed was not the brief, polite contact typical of such formal occasions, but a genuine hug between two people who had found unexpected understanding in each other's presence. The hug lasted longer than anyone might have expected, certainly longer than royal protocol would typically allow, but neither woman seemed inclined to break away from the comfort they were providing each other. Princess Catherine held Jessie with the warmth of someone offering genuine consolation, while Jessie accepted the embrace with the gratitude of someone who desperately needed to feel supported and understood. The photographers present, who had been expecting routine documentation of a standard royal meet and greet, found themselves capturing something far more precious and rare. Through their lenses, they witnessed a moment of pure human connection that transcended titles, protocols, and public expectations. The images they were capturing would soon travel around the world, touching hearts and reminding people everywhere of the power of genuine compassion. The watching performers and crew members felt privileged to witness such an authentic moment. Many had worked in the entertainment industry for years without seeing anything quite so moving. This wasn't staged or calculated. It was simply two women offering each other comfort in a moment of shared vulnerability. The artificial boundaries that usually separated different levels of celebrity and social status had completely dissolved. As they held each other, both Princess Catherine and Jessie J felt a sense of connection that surprised them with its intensity. The princess found herself thinking about all the times she had wished for someone to see past her title and offer genuine understanding of the challenges that came with public life. Jessie felt the acceptance and validation she had been desperately seeking during her recent struggles. "Thank you," Jessie whispered into the princess's ear, her voice thick with emotion. "I needed this more than you could possibly know. You've given me something I didn't even realize I was searching for. The feeling that someone truly understands." Princess Catherine tightened her embrace slightly, moved by the raw honesty in Jessie's voice. "We all need that sometimes," the princess whispered back. "Thank you for sharing something so beautiful and honest with all of us tonight. Your courage has touched more hearts than you realize." The emotional weight of the moment seemed to suspend time around them. The backstage bustle that typically characterized post-performance activities had quieted, with everyone present recognizing that they were witnessing something extraordinary. Even those accustomed to celebrity interactions found themselves deeply moved by the genuine care being displayed. When they finally, reluctantly, began to separate, both women's eyes were bright with tears. The connection they had formed in those precious moments felt profound and lasting, far beyond what either had expected when the evening began. Princess Catherine kept one hand gently on Jessie's arm, as if reluctant to completely break the physical connection that had provided such comfort. "Your performance tonight will stay with me for a very long time," Princess Catherine said, her voice still soft with emotion. "You've reminded me of why the arts are so important. They help us process our experiences, they connect us with others, and they show us that we're not alone in our struggles." Jessie nodded, feeling overwhelmed by the princess's continued kindness and understanding. "You've given me something incredible tonight," she replied. "Not just your support, but hope. Hope that I can continue doing what I love, that my music can still make a difference, that even in the difficult times, there's still beauty to be found." The stage manager, who had been discreetly managing the meet-and-greet process, found himself deeply moved by what he was witnessing. In decades of coordinating royal events, he had never seen such genuine emotion displayed so openly. The usual time constraints that governed such occasions seemed irrelevant in the face of what was clearly a meaningful human moment. Other performers who had been waiting their turn to meet Princess Catherine found themselves in no hurry to interrupt what was happening. They recognized that they were witnessing something special, a reminder that beneath all the glamour and protocol of such events, the most meaningful moments often came from simple human kindness and understanding. Princess Catherine's security detail, trained to monitor every aspect of her public interactions, found themselves making subtle adjustments to accommodate the extended nature of this encounter. Even they could recognize that this was not a moment to be rushed or constrained by typical timing considerations. Their job was to protect the princess, and sometimes that meant protecting her right to show genuine compassion. "I want you to know," Princess Catherine continued, "that what you've been going through, the struggles you mentioned, they don't diminish your worth or your talent. If anything, they've deepened your ability to connect with people through your music. That's a gift, even when it doesn't feel like it." The wisdom in the princess's words resonated deeply with Jessie, who had been struggling to see her recent challenges as anything other than obstacles to overcome. To have someone of Princess Catherine's stature reframe those difficulties as potential sources of artistic strength felt revolutionary and healing. I've been so focused on trying to get back to who I was before everything got difficult, Jessie admitted. But maybe you're right. Maybe the goal isn't to go back, but to move forward as someone who's been shaped by these experiences, someone who can use them to create something meaningful. Princess Catherine smiled through her tears, recognizing the shift in perspective that was happening before her eyes. Exactly, she said with conviction. Our challenges don't have to define us, but they can inform us. They can make our art more honest, our connections more genuine, our impact more profound. The conversation had evolved beyond comfort and support into something approaching wisdom sharing between two women who had found unexpected common ground. Both had learned, in their different ways, how to navigate the challenges of public life while maintaining their authentic selves, and now they were sharing those hard-won insights with each other. The photographers continued to document the interaction, but their work had shifted from routine event coverage to capturing something that felt historically significant. These images would tell a story that went far beyond a celebrity meeting a royal. They would illustrate the power of human connection to transcend all artificial barriers. "Promise me something," Princess Catherine said, her voice taking on a tone of gentle authority. "Promise me that when things get difficult again, and they might because that's part of life, you'll remember this moment. Remember that your voice matters, that your story matters, that you have the strength to keep going." Jessie felt the weight and importance of that request, recognizing it as more than mere encouragement. It was a covenant of sorts, a commitment to honor both the moment they had shared and the strength she had demonstrated by getting through her recent struggles. "I promise," Jessie said solemnly. "And I promise to remember that even in the middle of the storm, there are people who understand, people who care, people who see value in what I'm trying to create and share." The exchange of promises felt sacred, witnessed by everyone present, but belonging ultimately to the two women who had found such unexpected connection with each other. It was a moment that would sustain both of them through future challenges, a reminder that genuine human understanding could be found in the most unlikely circumstances. As their conversation began to wind down, both women seemed reluctant to let go of what they had discovered together. The evening's formal program was largely complete, but the most meaningful part of the experience was just beginning to settle into their hearts and memories, creating a foundation of mutual respect and understanding that would endure long after the spotlights had dimmed. As the evening at the London Palladium drew to a close, the impact of what had transpired between Princess Catherine and Jessie J began to ripple outward in ways that neither woman could have anticipated. Their embrace, captured by photographers and witnessed by dozens of performers and crew members, had created something that transcended the boundaries of a typical royal variety show meeting. The images of their emotional hug began circulating within minutes, shared first by official royal photographers and entertainment media, then spreading rapidly across social platforms where millions of people around the world found themselves moved by the genuine emotion displayed. Comments poured in from people who recognized something profoundly authentic in what they were seeing, two women offering each other comfort and support without regard for protocol or public image. Princess Catherine made her way back to the royal box to conclude the formal portion of the evening, but her mind remained focused on the encounter with Jessie. The princess had always believed in the power of genuine human connection, but tonight she had experienced it in a way that felt both unexpected and deeply meaningful. The vulnerability that Jessie had shown and her own instinctive response to it had reminded her of why authentic compassion mattered so much in public life. Meanwhile, Jessie found herself surrounded by fellow performers and crew members who had witnessed the exchange. Their support felt different now, charged with an understanding that went beyond professional courtesy. The validation she had received from Princess Catherine seemed to have given others permission to see her struggles more clearly and offer their own forms of support and encouragement. "That was something special," said one of the evening's comedians, approaching Jessie with tears in his own eyes. "I've been in this business for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like what just happened between you two." That was real love and support happening right in front of us. The sentiment was echoed by others throughout the backstage area. Performers who had initially been focused on their own appearances and performances found themselves reflecting on the deeper meaning of what they did for a living. Jessie's vulnerable performance and the princess's compassionate response had reminded everyone present of the real purpose behind their work, to create connections and touch hearts. As Princess Catherine prepared to leave the venue, she took a moment to speak with the event organizers about what had occurred. Her natural concern was whether the intense emotion of the moment had been appropriate for such a formal occasion, but the overwhelming response from everyone present reassured her that something beautiful and important had happened. "Your Royal Highness," said the evening's producer, clearly moved by what he had witnessed. "In 40 years of organizing these events, I've never seen anything more appropriate or meaningful than what happened tonight. You showed that real leadership sometimes means setting aside protocol to offer genuine human support. That's what people need to see from their public figures." The drive back to Kensington Palace gave Princess Catherine time to process the evening's events. She found herself thinking not just about Jessie's performance and their subsequent conversation, but about the broader implications of what had occurred. The moment had reminded her that her role as a member of the royal family carried opportunities to provide comfort and support that went far beyond ceremonial duties. Jessie's journey home was equally reflective. The emotional intensity of both her performance and the encounter with Princess Catherine had left her feeling drained but also strangely renewed. The validation she had received from someone she deeply respected had begun to shift her perspective on her recent struggles and future possibilities. Over the following days, the story of their embrace continued to grow and evolve. Mental health organizations reached out to both women, recognizing the powerful message their interaction had sent about the importance of emotional support and authentic connection. The moment had inadvertently become a symbol of hope for people struggling with their own challenges. Letters and messages began arriving for both Princess Catherine and Jessie from people around the world who had been touched by their story. Parents wrote about using the moment to teach their children about compassion and emotional honesty. Mental health advocates praised the visible display of support and understanding. Artists and performers shared their own stories of struggling with public expectations while dealing with private pain. "When I saw that hug," wrote one fan, "I realized that it's okay to need support, even when you're successful." Seeing someone as accomplished as Jessie J being vulnerable, and someone as dignified as Princess Catherine responding with such genuine care, it made me feel less alone with my own struggles. The Royal Variety performance organizers found that this single moment had generated more positive coverage and emotional response than any other aspect of the evening's entertainment. The traditional performances, while excellent, had been overshadowed by something far more powerful: the demonstration of genuine human kindness and understanding. Jessie's management team reported a surge of interest in her upcoming projects, but more importantly, they noted a shift in the tone of media coverage about her. The vulnerability she had shown had humanized her in ways that careful public relations could never achieve, creating deeper connections with her audience and opening new possibilities for authentic artistic expression. Princess Catherine's staff observed similar effects, with increased support for the mental health initiatives that the princess championed. The genuine emotion she had displayed had reinforced public perception of her as someone who truly cared about the causes she supported, rather than simply fulfilling royal obligations. Several weeks after the performance, both women found opportunities to reflect publicly on what had happened. In a carefully worded statement, Princess Catherine spoke about the importance of supporting artists and the value of emotional honesty in public life. Her words carried extra weight because people had witnessed her putting these principles into action. "Art at its best helps us understand ourselves and each other," the princess said. "When artists are brave enough to share their authentic experiences, including their struggles, they create opportunities for genuine connection and healing. Supporting that kind of courage is not just appropriate, it's essential." Jessie's own reflections on the evening came in the form of new music that directly addressed her recent experiences and the support she had received. The songs she wrote in the weeks following the Royal Variety performance carried a depth and honesty that surpassed even her previous work, demonstrating how the encounter with Princess Catherine had unlocked new levels of artistic authenticity. That night changed something fundamental for me, Jessie explained in an interview months later. Not just the performance itself, but the response I received afterward. Princess Catherine showed me that vulnerability could be met with compassion instead of judgment, and that gave me permission to be more honest in my music and my life. The professional relationship that emerged from their initial meeting evolved into something approaching friendship, with both women occasionally crossing paths at charitable events and always sharing warm greetings that reflected their mutual respect and understanding. Their initial encounter had created a bond that transcended their different worlds and responsibilities. The images of their embrace became iconic, frequently cited in discussions about emotional intelligence in public life and the importance of authentic leadership. Universities began using their interaction as a case study in courses about public communication and emotional intelligence, demonstrating how genuine human moments could have far greater impact than carefully scripted public appearances. Years later, both women would look back on that November evening as a turning point in their respective journeys. For Princess Catherine, it reinforced her commitment to using her platform for genuine human connection rather than mere ceremonial function. For Jessie, it provided the validation and support she needed to continue creating music that explored emotional honesty and personal growth. The Royal Variety performance itself resumed its traditional role as an annual celebration of British entertainment, but organizers noted that subsequent events seemed to carry an added emphasis on authentic emotional connection between performers and audiences. The standard that had been set by Princess Catherine and Jessie J's interaction had raised expectations for what such events could achieve beyond mere entertainment. Their story became part of the larger narrative about the evolving role of public figures in modern society, demonstrating how authentic emotional intelligence could enhance rather than compromise public effectiveness. It showed that strength and vulnerability could coexist, that protocol could serve human connection rather than constrain it, and that sometimes the most unscripted moments created the most lasting impact. The evening at the London Palladium had begun as a traditional celebration of artistic achievement, but it had evolved into something far more significant, a demonstration of how genuine human compassion could transcend all artificial boundaries and create connections that would inspire countless others to seek and offer similar understanding in their own lives. In the end, their embrace had become a symbol of hope, reminding everyone who witnessed it that authentic human connection remained possible even in the most formal and public circumstances.